Hi, and welcome to Luminati's webinar on how to prevent and solve ReCaptcha. My name is Rachel, and I'm here with Paz, our Luminati product manager. Please ask all of your questions during the webinar in the small box at the bottom of the page, and we will address them at the end. Today's main topics are going to be understanding ReCaptcha, preventing ReCaptcha using browser fingerprints and proxy manipulations, how to overcome ReCaptcha with Luminati Proxy Manager automation, the ReCaptcha Solver, and ReCaptcha Unblocker. So the first CAPTCHA was introduced by Google as a distorted but human-readable text. Later, Google introduced ReCaptcha using images such as traffic lights, crosswalks, fire hydrants, stairs, and chimneys. Now, during 2018, Google introduced ReCaptcha v2 and v3 while shutting down ReCaptcha v1. So a little about ReCaptcha types. ReCaptcha v2 requires the user to click on a checkbox. Invisible ReCaptcha v2 is prompted by suspicious traffic activities, and then the site owner is updated, and then they choose how they would like it to be handled. Next, ReCaptcha v3, which is an enhancement of invisible ReCaptcha that analyzes the user interaction with the browser and device fingerprints, and then sends that score to the site owner. The site owner has the choice on how to handle this suspicious activity and can decide to block, cloak, require additional authentication, or blacklist the IP in its entirety. So what does ReCaptcha really do? Well, in addition to solving pictures, ReCaptcha is adding cookies and collecting browser and the device profile known as the device fingerprints. Advanced fingerprints analyze mouse movements and even the audio signal captured from the device. So what actions should be taken to prevent ReCaptcha or getting blocked? Well, most of the websites will first check the IP integrity, which can be bypassed by using a real user IP, also known as a residential IP. So first start by choosing your network as residential. Luminati has two types of residential IPs, our static and our rotating. The rotating residential IPs are real user device IPs that are rotated every time a certain IP is no longer idle. Static residential IPs are issued by an ISP for commercial use and are permanent. These IPs behave like their residential counterpart, except that they do not rotate, as they are only used by the customer who purchased them. For example, some of the social media and ticketing sites check the persistence of the account IP, and in this case, you should use a static residential IP. Selecting the IP type as static residential can be done in the Luminati dashboard by clicking the Zones tab, adding a zone, and selecting the network type as static residential. Several target websites introduce ReCaptcha on sensitive pages, such as a registration page or when you're posting information. In similar use cases, we would recommend using the Waterfall solution. You start by sending the requests with a data center IP, and then route the request to a residential IP when crawling the sensitive pages by creating rules within the proxy manager. The waterfall method can give you a high success rate and a cost-effective solution at the same time. One example would be to start sending the requests through the data center network. Then, only if they fail, would that same request be automatically sent through the residential network. If that request fails again, then it's automatically routed through the mobile network. Another way to utilize the waterfall method would be by routing requests between different geolocations. This is useful when scraping e-commerce product pages while getting ReCaptcha. You can change the IP from US to an IP from Europe or Canada, for example, and this can also work to overcome ReCaptcha. So let's take a close look at implementing a URL to rotate between different networks. Each proxy port in the LPM should be allocated with a different network type. So now once you've got your ports ready, so let's say your first port is data center, your second is residential, etc. You can now create a new rule that will be triggered upon hitting the URL that you have chosen in order to switch the IP to a residential IP. In the action drop-down list, select Retry with New Proxy Port, or Waterfall, which will initiate Waterfall Routing. In the Retry section, using a different port drop-down list, select the relevant port with the residential zone. I'd like to note that when you are creating a new proxy port in the Proxy Manager, first select the relevant proxy zone that was previously created in your Luminati dashboard under the Zones tab. Finally, just test that new rule by sending one simple request, and this can be done by just clicking the test button at the bottom of the page. Target websites collect and analyze the browser and device fingerprints in conjunction with the IP address. Many simple target sites just analyze the browser profile, such as the header, and then implement a visible ReCaptcha. To easily overcome this, merely send a real browser header and change the header with each request. Setting the browser header values can easily be done with the Luminati Proxy Manager under the Headers tab found in the settings of each of the proxy ports. To utilize different user agents, select Yes in the Random User Agent field, and a random user agent will be added to each of your requests. You can also manually add any of the header values, such as cookies, accept language, etc., by typing in the name and value according to your target website's headers. Now, when working with the Proxy Manager API, setting the required headers can be done by creating a new proxy, by sending a post request, or by updating the port via a put request, while sending the JSON configuration file of the port. The relevant field of the configuration file is the headers array, which includes names and values of the header field. For example, for a particular site, under the name field, you will add cookie, and under the value field would be the string for the cookie itself. Using this, you can include the same or different cookie values per each request and each session while populating different cookie values from a cookie database that are relevant to your target website. You can do the same in Puppeteer or Selenium by including the browser headers in your code. Another very useful proxy manipulation is resolving the DNS on the peer side and not at the super proxy side. So what is DNS resolve? DNS resolve translates from an IP to a URL. So the advantage of resolving DNS at the super proxy is a faster request. Whereas if you resolve DNS on the peer side, that's going to allow for greater anonymity, especially when using a bot or crawler. And this can be done by going to the Request Speed tab in the Proxy Manager and selecting Remote Resolve by the Peer under the DNS lookup field. Now, some target websites that implement ReCaptcha v3 or are utilizing sophisticated analyzing capabilities, in this case, it is important to pay attention to fingerprints, such as the user mouse movements, WebRTC rendering, analyzing the audio signal, and more. Now, audio analyzing can be overcome by adding or populating the audio signal/file to your requests. For example, you can actually use a text-to-speech tool to create the required audio and just include it in your request. When populating proper audio as part of the request, we have noticed that ReCaptcha v3 is not even present. Audio analyzing has even replaced canvas image rendering on many popular sites. And with our tests, we were able to create accounts on popular target websites by merely populating the audio file itself. For a broader understanding of what is a device fingerprint, you can actually watch our previous webinar on device fingerprints available at luminati.io/webinar/device-fingerprints. For generating and disabling some of the fingerprints, you can actually use a Multilogin browser profile that is able to mask and disable device fingerprint properties. For example, you can set the browser time zone or geolocation to be the same as the proxy IP. Multilogin populates the proxy IP to WebRTC to even leak the proxy IP and not your real IP. Other fingerprint parameters can be populated as part of the Multilogin browser profile, such as canvas, static audio noise, WebGL, and more. So how do we overcome ReCaptcha and not interrupt our mask crawling operations? Well, first let's start by automatically setting up a retry with a new IP when ReCaptcha is presented. Now this can be done in the Rules tab of the Proxy Manager by creating a new rule. Just set the trigger to HTML body element, and for string to be scanned, type in the word ReCaptcha or whatever appears in the browser console. Now select Retry with New IP and input the number of retries you would like. Last, always test the rule. You can learn more about the Luminati Proxy Manager on our Luminati FAQ and by watching our previous webinar on becoming a Proxy Manager expert. And this is also available at luminati.io/webinar/proxymanager./expert. So another option is to actually solve the CAPTCHA by integrating with a third-party CAPTCHA solver, such as ToCaptcha and Anti-CAPTCHA. These services use real people that manually solve the CAPTCHA and send you back the results. The integration with CAPTCHA Solver services is cumbersome, since you need to detect when the CAPTCHA is present and then implement a complex API to send the request. The main constraint of these services is the response time, with an average of 40 to 60 seconds until the CAPTCHA is solved and sent back to you. So many customers have asked us how to unblock ReCaptcha. Well, the best way to solve a CAPTCHA is not to get one at all. This week, we launched the Luminati Unblocker, the first automated unblocking software to reach your target site and get a 100% success rate. The Luminati Unblocker allows you to send us a simple request and let us handle the rest. We have already automated all the required optimizations and proxy manipulations. So you just send us your request and we will send you 100% accurate results. How did we accomplish this? What we do is we rotate through our multiple networks, manage the headers and cookies, implement country discovery and targeting, detect blocked requests based on response codes, pay attention to content and request time, and then match the relevant solution to unblock the request. All of this is done automatically. If you are interested in the Luminati Unblocker, please contact your Luminati account manager. So now I see that we have a couple questions here at the bottom. So the first question is, will the webinar be recorded and are you going to share it afterwards? So yes, this webinar and presentation will be available at luminati.io/webinar with all of our previous webinars. Another question, does Luminati's service resolve CAPTCHA v2? No, Luminati does not resolve the ReCaptcha. Instead, we offer the Luminati Unblocker, which will automate all necessary proxy manipulations to deliver the results you need. So how do I work or integrate with the Unblocker? All you have to do is send us a curl request with your target site over the Luminati API, and we send you back the results. Another question, do I need to make any changes on my side for the Unblocker? Nope, you just add a very simple request to your existing Luminati API. And here, do you support the collection of price comparison data? Yes, the Unblocker can help to collect pricing data for e-commerce, travel, profile data for account management, and majority of web data extraction needs. I see a lot of questions here about that, so for more information or to start working with the Unblocker today, you can contact your Luminati account manager or email sales@luminati.io. Now, if you have any more questions, please feel free to write them in the small box at the bottom of the screen, and they will be answered after the webinar. We've come to the end, but I want to thank you for attending, and we hope you enjoyed our Luminati webinar on preventing and solving ReCaptcha. Again, my name is Rachel, and have a lovely day.